I would firstly like to say that this happened during a very difficult time in my life, so please try to keep an open mind. I was 23 years old at the time and had just quit my shitty job. My rent was due next week and I had bills to pay, and not enough time to come up with the money. I was sitting in bed one night and I was smoking the last bit of weed I had when I realized I had no food or petrol in my car. No nothing, and panic set in, so I made a decision to get myself doled up and go into the local strip joint to ask for work. I'm a pretty attractive girl, so I had no trouble securing a job. Not that I was proud of it, but at least I would be able to feed myself and pay my bills. I had been working for about 3 weeks when I met Dave. He was attractive and appeared to take interest to me straight away, but I treated him no different than any other client and pretended to be interested in his small talk in order to get paid. After that, Dave would show up on a regular basis and always ask for me, so the other girl starts to refer to him as my regular, and encouraged me to keep him interested, as this is a good thing. One particular shift, Dave came in with a beautiful diamond necklace he had bought for me, and as much as I loved the necklace and didn't want to seem rude, something inside me told me to not accept his gift. He was upset about this, so I spent a few hours focusing my attention on him, reassuring him that I wanted to keep him as a client, but how that was too nice of a gift for now, since we were just getting to know each other. He seemed to understand and left when the club closed. I didn't see Dave for a while after that, until late one night after my shift at the club. I pulled into a petrol station to fill up my car when I noticed the stretchy figure hanging around the entrance of the store. As I'm walking past, a hand grabs my arm. As I turn around, I notice it's Dave. Dave, what are you doing here? I saw you pull in and I wanted to say hi. Oh, okay. Well, it's pretty late and I've got to get some rest, but hope to see you around. I have planned a surprise trip for us. Huh? Excuse me? And before I could say or do anything, I was being dragged into Dave's pickup truck. He grabbed me with such force that my bag hit the ground, so I had no phone or anything. He got me in the passenger seat and was trying to tie my wrists together when I realized that he was going to hurt me, so I panicked. I kicked him in the legs multiple times while screaming my lungs out for help. I got so angry at this that I started to scream even louder and was fighting for my life. When the service clerk finally came out to see what all the fuss was about, and Dave backed up enough so I could kick my way out of the car. He ran to the driver's seat and drove off in a rush. After that night, I quit my job, moved houses, and got a new car. I hear that Dave still goes into the club asking about me, so Dave, if you're reading this, let's not meet again. When I was young, around 10 or so, I was walking home from a bus stop. I lived in a small subdivision with not that many people in my general area and with an overprotective mother who I am amazingly thankful to have. She always had a password that we used when someone was supposed to pick me up, so I never ended up with someone dangerous. I lived on the same block as my bus stop, so as soon as I got off the bus, I could see my house. Thank the powers that be, because that's what saved my life. So here I am, a little 10-year-old girl walking home from a crap day at school when his red pickup truck pulls up next to me. I'm on the side of the road since there aren't any sidewalks, and I'm a good few feet from the driver's side door. Inside there's this man, looked to be in his early 20s I would say, and he gets my attention. Your mom told me to come pick you up, she's late at work. Red flag, right away, because I can see mom's van in our driveway and she doesn't work, she's a stay-at-home mom. Well, she did work but she had her own company and she worked nights since she was a DJ. What's the password, I had asked, and getting a pause from him as he thought. He had did his best to give an answer I would find acceptable. She forgot to tell me. But she's home, I see her van in the driveway. Without another word, he drove off quickly and I never saw the red pickup in my area again. Honestly, I'm thankful that he didn't just lean out the window or jump out the door after me, since, looking back, I wasn't anywhere near far enough from the truck to feel safe now. So creepy guy who tried to kidnap me, let's not meet again. The following is a true story that happened to my sister 4 years ago. She told me the entire story and even let me post it here on Reddit. I worked in an office as an assistant, secretary to the CEO of a big company. It was a boring job, but it paid the bills and I didn't really have any other options. Because days could get rather busy, I wouldn't leave until late at night. Even worse, I always had to park in the parking garage. I hated going in there. And with it being night and me being alone, I hated it even more. One day, I had to stay extra late doing work, so I didn't manage to head to my car until about midnight. There was hardly any other cars in the garage and nobody, even the security guard, was still working. I tried to just walk straight to my car. I just stared at my phone the whole way. I opened the car, got in the driver's seat, and started the engine. My boyfriend had texted me telling me about some random thing. I don't quite remember what it was about, but I found myself replying to it. We texted back and forth for a few minutes until he finally said goodbye, and I looked up from my phone, to total horror. A man was standing right by my door, watching me through the window. I had no idea how long he had been there. He wasn't trying to get my attention or anything, he was just standing there. I cracked the window and asked him what he needed, after locking the car doors, of course, and his face had concern on it. "Are you okay, ma'am?" he asked. He looked normal enough. He was obviously a young man, maybe in his 20s or 30s, but despite him looking normal, his clothes were a little odd. He wasn't wearing a suit or formal clothing like any other person who worked here, and it was even more suspicious that he was just waiting in the parking garage at such a late time. I told him I was fine, thanked him for his concern, and proceeded to drive out. I kept an eye on him, though, and watched him get into his car. It was a black pickup, really small for a pickup as well. I didn't see him drive anywhere because I had already pulled out and was on my way. As tired as I was, I realized that I needed some groceries on my way home. I couldn't pick them up tomorrow because I wouldn't have any breakfast or dinner. Because it was so late, there was hardly anybody shopping, so I decided to go ahead and get the things I needed. On my way out, I noticed a small black pickup parked a few parking spots away from mine. There was hardly any cars anywhere, so it really stood out. As I walked to my car, I kept trying to determine whether or not it was a truck that belonged to the parking garage man, but I couldn't tell as I had only gotten a glimpse of it. I had my hand on the door handle to my car, ready to open it, when something grabbed my ankle and pulled, knocking me to the floor. I hit the back of my head hard on the ground and let out a groan of pain, but that's when I saw the man from the parking garage climb out from under my car. He had no emotion on his face. He simply pulled me up and began to walk me over to his truck. He had his hand around my mouth the whole walk, before he finally threw me in the back seat and tied my arms to the headrest with a small rusty chain. I was crying, confused, in shock, and scared at this point. The man didn't say a word, he just kept driving. We drove further and further out of town. There was less and less buildings the further we went. Eventually, I had no idea where we were. We were out in the suburbs, and there was hardly any traffic. I became really scared and began fidgeting with the rope around my hands. We drove for about another mile or so, when I finally got free. I kept my hands as if they were still tied though, so the man wouldn't notice. Soon we hit a red light. We were in a suburb or what appeared to be a run-down town, and that's when I quickly flipped the latch on the door and bolted away from the truck. The truck began to turn around and drive after me, so I ran down an alley, forcing him to get out of the truck and chase me on foot. He was faster than me, so I needed to constantly switch alleys trying to lose him. I was out of breath, and he was gaining on me real quick. I knew I wasn't going to lose him, so I ran up to a random house and began banging on the door, screaming for help. I was crying, hitting as hard as I could on the door, when a hand grabbed my hair and pulled me to the floor. The man then got on top of me and began to hit me over and over again. Each and every blow hurt, a lot. I tasted blood. My vision was getting blurry, and he had begun to choke me. In that moment of him choking me, I felt like this was the end. I wasn't going to breathe again, and I was going to be killed and probably raped, right on somebody's porch. Everything was so blurry now that it was hard to even see the man's face. I didn't feel pain in my throat now. Everything was going numb. When the front door to the house flew open and a black man came outside. He pushed the man off me and they struggled for a bit, before the black man finally got him under control. The man's wife or girlfriend came out and began trying to help me as she called 911. The police arrested the man and found out some disturbing things. He had apparently been stalking me for a few weeks before this incident. He had planned this all out and was going to imprison me at his house and knew everything about me. This was the most horrifying thing that has ever happened to me, and I hope nobody has to go through anything like this.